Ever imagine yourself on a factory floor, not just working, but like leading the charge?
Leading the charge, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today.
Awesome.
We're diving into a world that's way more than just putting pieces together.
Right.
We're talking about being a container equipment assembly supervisor.
Yeah, yeah.
And to help us like really unpack this, we're diving into this career guide
Okay.
that's like hot off the presses, December 2023.
Oh, wow.
So we're working with the freshest intel.
It's good stuff, this guide. I mean, we're not talking about your average lunchbox here.
No.
This goes deep into,
Does.
the intricate assembly of complex containers. I'm talking like massive boilers,
Yeah.
the kind that power factories, or like pressure vessels holding volatile chemicals.
Right.
Like high stakes, high responsibility.
Definitely not for the faint of heart.
No.
So if you're picturing someone just like, I don't know, reading instructions and tightening bolts.
Yeah.
Think again, this is leadership under pressure.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. Yeah.
This guide really gets into the nitty-gritty. I mean, it emphasizes that this is a job that requires a really unique blend of technical expertise.
You got to know your stuff.
You got to know your stuff, but also serious people skills.
Interesting.
You're not just building containers. You're building a team. You're overseeing every single step of the process.
Right.
To make sure it's done right and that it's done safely.
Yeah. And that's a whole other layer, right? Because you can have all the technical expertise in the world, but if you can't like wrangle a team and make sure everybody's working together, then you're kind of dead in the water.
100%, yeah.
So let's say like a critical shipment of, I don't know, some specialized valves gets delayed.
Okay.
And now your whole assembly line is thrown off. Yeah. Your container equipment assembly supervisor can't just be like, well, guess we'll go home.
Right, yeah.
They have to be the problem solver.
They have to.
They have to be the one who can like think fast on their feet and find a workaround. Right. Yeah. Like, can they resequence the assembly? Can they maybe start on a different section while they're waiting for those valves to come in, all while keeping the project on track?
Yep.
And keeping the team informed.
Absolutely. They've got to be able to analyze the situation, weigh the risks, weigh the benefits of different options,
right,
and make a decision, a decisive call.
Yeah.
Often, under pressure, under a tight deadline.
Yeah, I bet communication is key in this kind of role.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're not just like directing robots.
Right.
You're leading a team of skilled technicians,
right,
each of them with their own expertise, their own perspectives, their own way of doing things.
100%, and that's really where these softer skills come into play.
Okay.
The active listening, the coordination, social perceptiveness.
Yeah, the guide really seems to hit on those.
The guide hits on them hard. It actually ranks them in order of importance.
Oh, wow.
For this very role.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's really eye-opening.
All right, so let's dive into that. Give me the rundown, like, what are these essential skills and why are they so crucial in this kind of environment?
Okay, so let's start with active listening.
Okay.
Which, according to this guide, is paramount. It's ranked at a whopping 57% in importance. 57%, yeah. That means for a container equipment assembly supervisor, it's not enough to just, like, hear what your team is saying.
Right.
You have to truly listen,
Yeah.
Understand their concerns, and then actually factor those into your decisions.
So it's more than just like parking orders.
Oh, for sure.
It's about creating an environment where people feel heard.
Yes, exactly. A collaborative environment where everyone feels heard, respected, and that actually ties directly into the next crucial skill, which is coordination.
Okay.
Ranked at 55% importance. This guide emphasizes that a supervisor is essentially like the conductor of an orchestra.
Okay.
Making sure everyone's in sync, materials are arriving on time.
Right.
Each step of that assembly process, it flows smoothly.
Wow, 55%. So it sounds like this role is as much about logistics and timing as it is about like the actual technical know-how.
It's a juggling act.
You got to have a pulse on every moving part.
Every single one. Yeah, imagine this. You're working on a team.
Okay.
And you're assembling like a massive pressure vessel.
Okay.
Maybe one destined for a refinery or something.
Okay, high stakes.
High stakes, and you've got welders, you've got inspectors, crane operators, all working in concert.
It's like a ballet almost.
It is. It's like a highly synchronized industrial ballet.
Right.
And if the coordination is off, it is off by even a little bit.
Yeah.
It can throw the whole project off schedule.
Oh, for sure.
Which costs time, it costs money.
And potentially compromising safety too, right?
Okay.
If things aren't where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, that can be really dangerous.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to anticipate those potential bottlenecks.
Right.
Keep everybody on the same page.
And that's where that social perceptiveness comes in, right?
Yes, yes.
Also weighing in at 55% importance, according to the guide.
It's huge.
Okay, but break this one down for me a little bit.
Okay.
Because, like, what does social perceptiveness even mean in this kind of environment? We're not talking about, like, hosting a dinner party.
Right.
This is a factory floor.
It's a different kind of social savvy.
Exactly.
You're not reading the room, like you would at a cocktail party.
Right.
You're reading the room, but it's like...
It's a high-stakes industrial setting.
Exactly. It's a high-stakes industrial setting.
Okay.
So can you sense when tensions are high between team members?
Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
Can you pick up on those nonverbal cues? Maybe somebody's struggling or somebody's feeling overwhelmed. They're not going to come out and say it.
Right. They might not feel comfortable doing that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you've got to be able to read between the lines.
So it's almost like having this, like, emotional intelligence to kind of navigate those potential conflicts before they even, like, erupt. Right.
Before they impact the project, exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The guide actually gives a really good example. Imagine you've got two, like, highly skilled technicians.
Okay.
But they're both used to doing things their own way.
Oh, I know those types.
Right. And so a supervisor, a good supervisor, a socially perceptive supervisor, would be able to recognize that potential clash and step in to kind of maybe mediate or even leverage their individual strengths and find a more collaborative approach.
It's almost like you have to be like a master communicator, but then also like a bit of a psychologist or something.
A little bit, yes. Understanding that a team is made up of individuals.
Right.
And each of those individuals has their own motivations.
Their own quirks.
Their own quirks, their own communication styles.
Yeah, you got to meet people where they are.
Exactly.
And speaking of understanding individuals, I'm curious about, like, the career progression this guide kind of lays out.
Okay.
Because we've talked about the skills needed, but, like, what does the actual path to becoming a container equipment assembly supervisor even look like?
So this guide, it breaks it down into 3 distinct stages. You've got your entry level, your junior supervisor, and then, of course, your senior supervisor.
Okay.
It's a journey.
Okay.
It takes you from that hands-on work, to eventually overseeing that entire assembly process.
So it's like a tiered system. You work your way up.
Yeah, you climb that ladder.
You got to earn your stripes.
Got to earn those stripes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's break it down. Starting with that entry-level position, what does that look like?
So the guide, it describes this first stage as the hands-on phase.
Okay.
Where you're starting as a technician.
Right.
Learning the ropes of container assembly from the ground up.
So it's all about mastering those, like, really core technical skills.
Yeah, you're getting your hands dirty. You're understanding how all the different components fit together.
Right, making sure that you're, like, using the tools properly, interpreting blueprints.
Blueprint reading, absolutely.
Safety, all that good stuff.
Safety, always. Can't emphasize that enough. That's paramount.
Right, of course.
That's got to be ingrained from day one.
And I would imagine that this stage, like, even though it's entry level, it's crucial for, like, developing those soft skills we were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to,
active listening.
Yeah, to read about it in a guide.
Right. It's all theoretical.
It's theoretical, yeah. But to actually experience it.
Yeah. To see how it plays out in a real world,
On the assembly line, when the pressure's on.
Exactly.
That's where it really sinks in.
Okay, so you've put in your time as a technician. You've mastered the basics, maybe even picked up a few tricks of the trade.
You've got a few good war stories under your belt.
Exactly. Now what's the next step?
All right, so this is where you step into that junior supervisor role.
Okay.
And this is where things start to get interesting.
Okay.
How so?
Well, now you're not just responsible for your own tasks.
Right.
You're starting to guide others.
Interesting.
You're going to be mentoring those new recruits, the ones fresh out of that entry-level phase.
So you're passing on the torch, in a way.
Passing the torch, sharing that knowledge and those hard-earned skills you've acquired.
I imagine that takes a certain kind of personality, though, right? Not everyone is cut out to be a leader.
You're right. Not everybody's comfortable in that role, but for those who are, this is where they can really shine. So it becomes less about, like, the technical stuff and more about, like, bringing the team together and making sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. The guide really stresses the importance of training and mentorship in this role.
Makes sense.
because you're ensuring those quality standards are maintained.
Right, because if you're training people the wrong way, then
Exactly. It all falls apart.
yeah, you're only as strong as your weakest link or whatever they say.
And you're also learning to navigate uh, those inevitable personality clashes,
Oh, for sure, because not everyone's going to get along all the time.
especially in that high-pressure environment.
Right, and that's a whole other skill set in and of itself, being able to like manage those interpersonal dynamics.
Oh, absolutely. It's like being a diplomat sometimes.
Okay, so you've mastered the technical stuff, you've got the leadership skills, you've navigated the choppy waters of like workplace drama. What's next?
All right, so if you can tick all those boxes,
Yeah.
consistently demonstrate those qualities, you're on track for the top rung, senior supervisor.
Okay, we've reached the summit,
We're at the peak.
the pinnacle of container equipment assembly supervisordom.
Exactly. You are the overseer, the grand conductor.
What's it like up there? What do you do all day?
Well, you're not just overseeing a single team or assembly line anymore. You've got the big picture view.
Okay.
You're collaborating with engineers on complex designs. You're analyzing production data to pinpoint any bottlenecks.
So you're like the architect of efficiency.
You could say that, always looking for ways to refine the process, make it smoother, faster, safer.
And all while upholding those really stringent safety and quality standards, right?
Absolutely. That never goes away. In fact, it becomes even more important the higher up you climb.
That makes sense. The stakes are higher.
Exactly. And let's not forget the mentorship aspect.
Right, because you're still, leading a team, but you're also
You're cultivating future leaders,
right.
guiding those junior supervisors, the ones who are, eager to climb that ladder themselves.
It's about paying it forward, sharing that experience.
Exactly. And fostering that culture of continuous learning and improvement.
Especially with all the new technology that's coming out all the time.
Oh, absolutely. The guide, it really stresses that point. With automation, robotics, things are changing rapidly.
Yeah, and we can't shy away from that. We have to embrace it.
Embrace it, adapt, evolve, and bring your team along with you.
It's a brave new world out there, but it sounds like a pretty exciting one if you're in this field.
Oh, absolutely. And the best part, the guide suggests there's a huge demand for skilled professionals right now.
Job security.
Job security, growth potential. It's a great time to be in the container equipment assembly game.
So, what are we waiting for? Let's go build some containers.
Well, hold your horses. We've thrown a lot of information at you today.
We did.
But the important thing is what resonated with you.
Right. Did something spark your interest?
Do you see yourself in those steel-toed boots, leading the charge on the assembly line?
If so, this deep dive, it's just the beginning, right?
Exactly. It's your jumping off point, your springboard into a world of possibilities.
So don't just take our word for it.
No, do your own research.
Reach out to those organizations we mentioned.
Network. Connect with people in the field.
Ask questions. Get those hands dirty. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Unless you're on that assembly line.
Right. In which case, safety first.
Always.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. But hey, you never know. Maybe you'll be the one sharing your expertise with us one day.
That's right. Maybe you'll be the container equipment assembly supervisor extraordinaire, inspiring the next generation.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep building a better world, one container at a time.
I like it. One container at a time.